Now that's an ocean wonder. I'm Tom, the Blowfish herd.
Ooh, doggy!
The world's only heavy metal marine biologist.
That's so cool! Hello, Joe!
2/3 of this Earth's surface is covered by ocean
We know more about the surface of the moon.
than we do our own sea floor. And I've made it my life's work to uncover the secrets and mysteries of the ocean.
And now, I'm going to share them with you.
In today's Ocean Wonders, we're venturing into the big blue to discover why the mighty manta ray never stops swimming, how one foul fish uses slime for self-defense, and I'll demonstrate how one sucker hacks the food chain with the help of my skateboard, a suction cup, and a bunch of grapes.
Feed me, honey!
But first up, we have a peculiar example of interspecies teamwork. It can be tough going in the ocean. Everything's against you, so whenever you can make a friend, it's always to your benefit. And in this case, this tiny little crab has made two friends. This is a boxer crab. He's a crab the same as any other. He's got that shell, he's got those two claws, but you will notice that in each claw, he's wearing a little boxing glove that just so happens to be an anemone. Although they look like plants, anemones are in fact animals and can usually be found attached to rocks. So why exactly does the boxer crab hold a pair in his claws? Well, anemones can sting, so he uses them to catch food from the water column. And the boxer crab will stand in a suitable position and wave those claws around, sweeping the water for tasty little treats. In fact, he's doing it now. He's getting his little wave on, doing his little Macarena, cracking stuff. This feeding behaviour isn't quite hunting. Think of it more as beefed up scavenging. And they're not fussy. These crabs will eat anything they can get their grubby, sticky mitts on, from detritus in the water to plankton and tiny shrimp. But if then someone wants to have a go at the boxer crab, maybe thinks that the boxer crab is going to be lunch, that's when the sting of the anemone can be used in defense. And a boxer crab will push its anemones into the face of any potential attacker. Anemones' tentacles are covered in stinging cells called nematocysts. Triggered by even the slightest touch, these cells inject a paralyzing toxin into the unfortunate victim. Nasty. But how come the crab doesn't get stung by its anemone pals? Well, simply put, his hard shell protects him from any friendly fire. And the anemone's reward for helping out is greater access to food, as the crab is always on the move. Now that's what I call teamwork. But times can be hard and friends come and go, and sometimes boxer crabs will lose their anemones. In a case where they lose both, scientists have actually recorded boxer crabs sharing anemones. So if you've got one boxer crab with two anemones, it will put one down on the ground and allow the anemone-less boxer crab to pick one up. You may think this is a bit of a problem. What good is a boxer crab just holding one anemone? Well, the anemones can clone themselves. They can split in two. Boxer crabs know this and have been recorded splitting anemones in half, as seen here in this scientific footage, ensuring they always have a matching pair of mitts. So this tiny little guy, he packs a lot of punch thanks to his friends. The boxer crab and anemones have formed what is known as a symbiotic relationship. Specifically, a mutualistic one, meaning it's a win-win for both. These pairings are actually quite common in nature. Often they involve one smaller species cleaning another larger one. such as pilotfish and the oceanic white-tip shark, or shrimps, who tidy up after a variety of other animals, from fish to eels to anemones. But perhaps the closest relationship is between the anemone and the cute and colourful clownfish. These fortunate fish have a coating of mucus on their bodies which shields them from the anemone's toxin. So the clownfish gains a stinging fortress for a home, deadly to many intruders. But what's in it for the anemone? The clownfish will defend it from parasites and attempt to chase off any species that want to munch its friend. Another bonus for the anemone is the opportunity to hoover up any scraps from the clownfish's dinner. Genius.
Now, this next creature just blows my mind. It is the perfect example of aquatic evolution.
Meet the manta ray. There are two distinct species, reef manta rays and giant oceanic manta rays. These big beasties are giant by name and giant by nature. The mature females can grow to a whopping 8 meters, which is roughly the width of a tennis court. But the really distinctive thing about mantas is their body shape. So what are the benefits of being the flying carpets of the deep? To find out, I'm gonna join them. Here on the reefs of Komodo, an island in Indonesia, the waters are teeming with life. So it should be the perfect place to have an encounter with a reef manta ray. And sure enough, within moments, I'm joined by a whole squadron of mantas. These guys have been #1 on the Blowfish's bucket list since forever, and it is incredible to witness how gracefully they move through the water. Their unique shape is highly streamlined, making them some of the most efficient swimmers in the ocean. Plus, their skeleton is made entirely of cartilage, which is lighter and more flexible than bone. But they aren't putting on this underwater ballet just for me. In fact, manta rays have to keep swimming to stay alive. But why? The reason is all to do with oxygen. As the manta ray swims forwards, the horn-like fins on the front of its face help to funnel a current of water into its mouth. Inside the mouth are 5 rows of gills. Each is packed full of blood vessels which absorb oxygen from the water into the ray's bloodstream. The water is then expelled through the slits on the underside of its body. So the only way the manta rays can stay alive is constantly swimming forwards to push new, oxygen-rich water over their gills. If they stop moving, they die. But finally seeing these gentle giants up close, it's clear this ceaseless swimming is a doddle for manta rays, thanks to the ingenious way their bodies have evolved. It's an experience I'll never forget.
Now, for most people, the beach is where they'll first encounter marine life. And you might think that the animals that live here have it pretty easy. Well, you couldn't be more wrong.
The environment changes beyond recognition in the space of a few hours. The animals that live here have to stay alert to stay alive. As the water recedes, creatures must take refuge in the rock pools. But if prey finds itself side by side with a predator, there's nowhere to run until the tide comes back in. And the carnivores of the coastline are some of the meanest on the planet.
I'm about to come face to face with a serial killer.
This little menace is the dog whelk.
And here he is, the scourge of the seashore. Now, this tiny, unassuming snail may look completely pointless to you or me, but to the animals that live here, this guy is Jack the Ripper, because the way that he feeds, it'll make your blood curdle.
But to investigate this coastal crime, we need to delve a little deeper.
So while most snails are happy feeding on algae and bits of detritus, the dog whelk makes his meal out of other snails, as well as mussels, barnacles, and indeed anything that can't scurry away fast enough. But how do they do it? Well, when the dog whelk has sighted a potential victim, they will crawl over to them and use a special patch of skin on their muscular foot to excrete acid and start to melt the shell, weakening its structure.
And then the dog whelk deploys his secret weapon.
Inside its mouth, it has a long ribbon of mineral-hardened, dagger-sharp teeth. It's called a radula.
And the barbed radula is used to drill down through the acid-weakened shell.
It's like having a circular saw for a tongue.
With a hole now bored in its victim's shell, it's time for the next stage of the attack. The dog whelk injects a paralyzing chemical, followed by enzymes which digest the poor prey inside its own shell. With the mussel now resembling soup, the dog whelk slurps up his tasty prize. Disgusting.
Just goes to show that beneath those waves, there's always a battle being fought. Now, there are some beautiful creatures in the ocean, but there are also some quality uggos. Trust me, I should know. And one of these particular homely-looking creatures is the hagfish.
Hagfish are seriously freaky fish. They can be found squirming about on the sea floor, and they have a pretty disgusting superpower.
Now, they're also known as the slimy, and this is because they can make copious amounts of mucus, so much so they can use it in attack and defense. Let me show you. So, hagfish, or slimy, like to feed on corpses that they find at the bottom of the ocean. And they're not the only scavengers there. And so the long, juicy-looking hagfish is a particularly tasty treat when you first see it. And this is where their slime comes into play. The hagfish can jet slime almost instantly from its body, which will then coat the gills of any potential predator. With the gills all slimed up, they can't breathe. The animal, the predator, starts to suffocate and it will spit the hagfish back out and then quickly tries to clear its throat before it itself dies. Very, very clever.
When it comes to feeding, hagfish have an unusual approach. They don't have jaws, but they do have tooth-like structures, evolved to butcher a carcass into bite-sized pieces. Nice. Tiny marine worms make up a large part of their diet, but sometimes the opportunistic hagfish has an appetite for something a bit bigger. Remote-operated vehicles, ROVs, have spotted them invading the burrows of other fish in search of a tasty victim.
Now, don't forget, the hagfish can't chew. It can't deliver that killing blow like a lion or a tiger. So how did it do it? How did it finish off its fishy meal? Well, it puts those slime glands into overdrive, and it fills the burrow up with thick,
gloopy snot suffocating the hapless fish. It's pretty grim, but put it this way, be glad you never have to go around to the hagfish's house for your dinner. Oh, sticky! Sticky! Although they are completely disgusting, you have to respect the hagfish for committing to this nasty way of life. They evolved hundreds of millions of years ago and have hardly changed at all in that time. After all, you can't improve on perfection. And clearly, the hagfish is a perfect creature. My next ocean wonder is a true headbanger.
Now, at first glance, you may not know what this is. After all, it does look quite a lot like a bird's skull. Well, what we've got here is actually the skull of a dolphin. And the reason why it looks so weird is because it's missing that characteristic hump on the front of its head. That is the melon organ.
The melon organ is a ball of fatty tissue and is part of a whole system of bizarre organs that allow dolphins to both create and understand sound. If we look down here, we can see the nostrils that would come up out of the top of the head, and there would be a pair of muscular lips here called the phonic lips that, when pursed together, would allow the dolphin to make squeaking noises, like when you fill up a balloon and then pull the end tight shut and let the air out. It squeaks. It's not just dolphins that do this. Many other species of cetaceans, including narwhals, porpoises, and killer whales, also make these strange sounds, known as whistles, in order to communicate with one another. These species are able to produce a variety of noises for different occasions, and beluga whales have even been known to mimic human speech. But when they're not taking the porpoise out of people, all these species can also be heard making these curious clicking noises, which are used for an amazing sixth sense, echolocation. And this is where that melon organ comes into play. Echolocation is an incredible tool used for both hunting and navigating, and it works a bit like sonar on a submarine, allowing dolphins to detect the location of animals and other objects in the water. It's so precise that dolphins can interpret not just where something is, but also its size, speed, and direction of travel. But how do they do it? Here inside the dolphin's head, we have the phonic lips that make those clicks. Normally, sound would travel out in every direction, but as the sound waves pass through the melon organ, it focuses them into a narrow beam. When this beam reaches an object in the water, some sound then echoes back towards the dolphin, whose brain can interpret the reflected sound waves into information about the 3D world around it. This extraordinary skill means that dolphins can hunt in the murkiest of waters, and even in the dark, all down to that amazing head.
Now that's using your melon.
Dolphins aren't the only creatures making strange sounds beneath the waves. But my next ocean wonder uses a rather different technique.
Now, the oceans certainly are an alien world, and at times when we look at them, it's very hard to find a connection. Well, you may be surprised then to learn that a very simple, humble fish is actually very, very closely related to young teenage boys. Because herring, for example, just like young teenagers, communicate by farting. They fart loud and they fart proud.
Although this may not sound like any human flatulence you've ever heard, this is the genuine sound of herring farting. scientists call them fast repetitive ticks, FRTs, farts. Herring do this because inside they have something called a swim bladder, which is a balloon inside their bodies that allows them to control their buoyancy. They add gas to it to go up, and they let gas out of it to go down. And when they let the gas out, they let it out through their anal vent, which is a posh way of saying a fish bum. And of course, when air comes out of a bum, fishy or not, it makes a bit of a noise. And it's through these farts that herring can communicate and let each other know that there are predators nearby, or in the dark, bring themselves together if they've been split through a day's foraging or from a random attack from a large predatory fish. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Farts may be the bane of our existence, but for herring, it's the lifeblood of their communication. My final ocean wonder has chosen a very lazy lifestyle. Now, when it comes to the business of travelling the ocean, your best bet is to get someone else to do the hard work for you. And this guy is the ultimate ocean hitchhiker. Meet the remora, also known as the suckerfish for obvious reasons. These guys have adopted an amazing way of getting about. On the back of their head, this odd-looking area of special bones and muscles can be used to stick, like a suction cup, onto a host of the remora's choosing. It certainly beats the bus, but is it as easy as it looks? Let's find out. I've got my sucker, which on a remora would be attached to the head. Mode of transportation, all I need now is a suitable host, and I think one's right here. So I've attached myself to my marine mammal, and now I'm sitting pretty. The benefits here are that I don't actually need to expend any energy to stay attached. This all works on a passive muscle mechanism, like standing up. You don't even know you're doing it. Remoras have been known to latch onto boats or even scuba divers, but are usually found hanging out on sharks, rays, and turtles. The hosts don't usually seem to mind, not that they have much of a choice in the matter. And this mode of megafauna transport has the added benefit of safety for the remora, because ain't nobody gonna try and eat you when you're attached to the side of a massive shark. Also, the faster the host moves, the tighter the suction. Frankly, I'm living La Vida, but the only thing better than a free ride is a free lunch. Ah! Feeding time! Yeah, come on! Higher, Todd, higher! Now, the remora is perfectly placed to feed on all the scraps left over from the messy feeding host. And some of it can be a really quite high prize indeed. But it's not easy being a remora, because that food is coming fast and furious. Tasty! Come on! I'm hungry! Even though remoras get up close and personal with their host, they aren't actually on the menu. These brave mother suckers have even been found clinging on inside sharks' mouths. Now that's what I call putting your money where your mouth is. But it's often not just food scraps. In fact, the majority of the remora diet is actually feces. Feed me, Toddy! Yes, you heard me right. The remora's meal of choice is poop. But thankfully, the crew know I prefer chocolate brownies.
Oh, it's like my last Christmas dinner. Oh, yes! Beautiful.
So I've mastered the remora's means of transport, but I think I prefer human table manners. Still, it's nice to know that in nature, nothing goes to waste.